Welcome back to the Wolff Den. We were off a little bit last week while we were at the Field of Dreams baseball game in Iowa. Wolff Den is presented by Win Again Academy. Mark Moyer doing some great things with his networking events. There is another one this week, so check out winagainacademy.com. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we have Scott Friedman in the Wolff Den. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, man. I'm excited to be on, my man.
Yeah, tell everyone who you are. I hate introducing people when you're like people are reading from a script, and I feel like it's the rabbi at the funeral who never met the person who died reading this stuff. It just sounds weird. So you introduce yourself and tell everybody, and then we'll get into it.
For sure. And no, thanks, Matt, for having me on. You do fantastic work with these streams like 5 days a week. So I'm honored to be on. Essentially, guys, I mean, if you guys have checked out Scott's Takes or you haven't, I'm a 15-year sports marketing veteran. So I have experience across all the teams on professional, college, was University of Illinois' GM of ticket sales for 5 years. And also the last really like 3+ years, I've spent a lot of time on the secondary market, working with elite companies such as Eventellect, DTI Management, and really now kind of becoming my own full-time consultant, full-time entrepreneur, producing content with Scott's Takes. As you guys see, my hashtag, keep it lean and clean, been on the keto diet journey for the last 4 months. I've lost 40 pounds, really have committed to a healthy lifestyle, and most really just living day to day to the fullest and getting out as much content as possible on Scott's Takes on Twitter. 7 days a week. We produce 3 videos per week on YouTube with my hot takes, my podcast series, which we're getting up and running, which will return to favor and have Matt on soon, and talk various topics. I'm not afraid to be a disruptor in this industry. If you see my videos, I speak my mind, I speak my case. And most importantly, if you disagree with me, I'm happy to have you on to talk to your side of the story. So it's not just like my opinion, my way or the highway. It's about your opinion also and how you feel about the various sports biz topics I discuss on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that's a great point. I consider myself a disruptor, and I don't do it to be a disruptor. I'm not setting out to be a disruptor or to have hot takes. They just happen maybe to be a hot take, which is different than there's a lot of people who are doing hot takes just to have hot takes. You have a lot of program on ESPN and Fox Sports with people who are just giving hot takes to give hot takes. And I'm happy to discuss why you're wrong if you want to come on. No, I'm saying not just you. I'm just saying. So I'm happy to discuss it, but I find the average person doesn't want to discuss.
They don't want it.
They put it out there. They'll let their followers, praise them, regardless of what they say. And then there's no real dialogue about it. And I think that's kind of why we don't get real change a lot of times.
You're absolutely right, Matt. And really, it's all about continued dialogue. And no, I'm not right 100% of the time. I mean, I may come off that way on my hot takes, but I challenge people. I want more dialogue. I want to say, Scott Friedman, you are so FOS. I mean, I don't know if this is a kid's show or not. Bullshit. We can swear on this. So, but anyways, I mean, it's all about continued dialogue. And I think that I have the experience. I want to stress my concerns about the bad ticketing plans, the worst practices as I'm kind of being branded to what everyone's saying. But no, we talk a lot of positive stuff too, and about my journey and so forth and best practices. But there's a time and a place where, like last week with Stephen Cohn and the New York Mets, I completely disagree with their strategy of just having $6 tickets on the open marketplace for anyone to see a Mets game and not really have any strategy to it. So that was what I was talking about all last week, and happy to continue the conversation if you please. If you disagree with me on it, I'd love to hear your take too, Matt.
No, well, let's talk about that because it's an interesting topic, the secondary market. I'm not a huge fan of the secondary market because I like to go to events, and if there's an event I want to go to, I don't want to have to pay someone more money than I could have gotten elsewhere if I got directly, or if I could have just had access to it, which is really, that's what the secondary market is about, is access, right?
Exactly. It's all about access.
So I don't care if the secondary market doesn't price right, as from a fan's point of view.
Right.
Or if a team doesn't price it right, from a fan's point of view, if they are leaving money on the table, that's good for me as a fan. Well, explain to everyone why that's not good for the ecosystem.
So obviously, like you just said, it's great for the fan having $6 tickets to attend a Mets game in New York City. You're not going to find a cheaper event in New York City right now than attending a Mets game. But I'm talking more holistically on the team side and the rights holder side. So vision yourself, man, you're president of the New York Mets or you're owner of the New York Mets, and you see $6 tickets on your marketplace that are undercutting your season ticket holders, undercutting your plans, and showing dynamic pricing that was above that, then below it, and just like a complete mess. So great for the fans to have $6 tickets. It's training them to buy tickets last minute, as it has happened in a lot of markets across the sports business landscape the last 5 years as the secondary took off really 5-6 years ago. But in a nutshell, if I'm president or if I'm vice president of ticket sales of the Mets, I'm not sleeping at night right now because for 90% of my games remaining in the schedule, I have $6 tickets on StubHub. I have 4,000 tickets, and my distribution plan is just so off. And how are you going to get a season ticket holder to pay full price for a ticket when he or she can go on StubHub, Vivid, etc., and see a $6 ticket on the marketplace? So I'm looking at on their side of it. For the fans, it's great, but for the team side and be able to sell full price tickets in the future, good luck with that.
Well, how about the other side of it, where if I'm a season ticket holder, I have access to these games. There's a time when the Mets ticket's going to be a hot ticket, right? If they're in first place and they're killing it, COVID obviously has something to do with it.
Right.
And now you're getting access to these tickets and don't have to worry about whether or not your ticket's going to be, 2 times or 3 times that. I think baseball's a little bit different of an animal too. You got 81 home games. It's a lot for season tickets. I don't know what the breakdown is, but the average fan doesn't have a season ticket for the Mets and go to all of them.
Right. Exactly. And then you bring up a good point too. Major League Baseball is definitely at a disadvantage having 81 plus home games a year. So you expect to see less expensive tickets on the marketplace compared to the National Football League that only has 17 games now, NBA and NHL that have half of that, around 40 games. So, you bring up a great point. If the team gets hot, they can make a lot of money during the playoffs. That's really what the big-time ticket brokers bet on. They're not making money during the regular season. They're making money on the postseason. So, good point, but I've seen postseason games crash too, and you'd be surprised over the last couple of years, obviously taking last year out of the equation with COVID, that for an ALSD game, for a NLSD, we've seen some get-ins at $100. So not necessarily, since if they get hot in the playoffs, is the secondary going to be hot if you don't have a good ticket distribution plan, if you don't have the right partner in place, if you're just go ahead and crashing the tickets from 100 to 80 just to undercut people. So there's a whole holistic strategy of how to price tickets timely, blend it correctly with the primary market. And it doesn't matter if it's a hot event, a cold event, not event, you still got to do it right. Otherwise, even if it is a playoff game, even if it is a World Series, if you have 6,000 tickets in the open marketplace, that's going to drive demand down for obvious reasons.
Yeah. One other point. People want to get people into the event because that's when the money is spent. They get the parking, they get the concessions, the liquor, merchandise, and all of that. So you see the model with the improvs, right? The comedy. Come in, it's a 2-drink minimum. Here, you can have a free ticket for the non-headliners. So there's some value to having a fan in there, regardless of what they paid on the ticket. And there's a lot of free tickets out there.
Yep.
Radio stations who always get free tickets. But I do understand your point. I think you mentioned this in your hot take about having the access to the resources to figure out what that pricing dynamic should be. So it sounds like they just don't. I don't know if they don't care, or do they have something else, a different plan that they think, okay, this is what's going to be best for us. Where's the disconnect?
The disconnect is I just think it's more like ego anything with these VP of ticket sales. They just know it all. They're obviously hiring their friends to be the vendors. That's how the world works. So they're just hiring bad vendors, and they're getting bad advice, whether it's from them directly or from somebody else. And there's just, really some companies that are better at doing things than others, just like in any business in the world. And And I think that unfortunately that there's a lot of companies, a lot of vendors on the secondary that go to your point, Matt. They're just all about volume. They're just all about getting as many tickets as sold as possible, not protecting the integrity of the brand. Obviously, to your point, when you get somebody in the stands, yeah, they're most likely to spend money on concession, parking, merch, etc. But if you keep seeing like over time, like a consumer can get a ticket on $6 on StubHub for a Major League Baseball game or a college football game or any league in particular, that's going to really induce the fan really like, look, this really isn't a hot event. Should I really come to it? And decide from there. I mean, really, I think that, I mean, if I was like running a professional sports organization, the first thing I would do, and I mentioned this on my hot take last week with the Mets, is I would not let StubHub Vivid go below $15. I would have a set price floor, and no one can list my ticket under $15. That's really just protecting the integrity of my brand. And I obviously go through the distribution process of loading tickets in, loading tickets out correctly, instead of just like having a vendor post 200 tickets and just broadcast them all live at once, which obviously creates more ticket flooding, which decreases demand. So I just see a lot of that across major league sports, across college football. There's obviously better companies that do it than others. I mean, I endorse Event Select, I endorse DTI Management that know what they're doing, that have a 24/7 distribution pricing plan, but some other companies just don't go much thought. They just broadcast, and they just basically go from undercut from broker to broker to broker on the market on StubHub and just end up with very cheap tickets day a game, which is happening a lot.
Brent has a good question. Wants to know, how do you dictate what they can sell on an open market? But they have relationships with the secondary companies. So I think are they allowed to say, here's the floor?
Very good question. I mean, you can, as a rights holder owner, you can dictate of where you want the floor to be. So if you have a partnership with StubHub Vivid, teams don't have to broadcast on StubHub Vivid. They have the right not to broadcast tickets at all. So they definitely have the right to say that a fan distribution partner cannot go below a price floor of $15. I mean, the standard StubHub price floor, the standard Vivid price floor is around $6 right now, but a rights holder can dictate that. And some teams do it well, some teams don't care. As to your point earlier, some teams just want to get people in the stands. That's happening a lot with college football, where they want to show the stands full because they have recruits in, and they don't care necessarily about the ticketing ecosystem. And that's a fair assessment. I talk to a lot of college administrators that have that mindset, and I get their point. But to me, it just drives me nuts that it's all about protecting your brand integrity and having people wanting to pay a full price ticket, no matter what the demand is, hot, good, etc. So I just think that there needs to be better practices when you price a ticket in. And as Tony Knopp said, this is one of my favorite quotes. Tony Knopp's good. I'm a big fan of his, and he's done an amazing job with Ticket Manager. He like had it down to a T what tickets mean, and really what tickets is an asset control with a skill, an asset that expires, that is incredibly complicated with extremely high stakes, right? So if you don't sell a ticket, to your point, you're like, that ticket never gets sold, just like a hotel room, just like an airline ticket. But there's a time and a way to have brand integrity and have your tickets priced cohesively depending on the supply and demand, and not have it too low and not having it too high depending on the demand situation.
That's like the opportunity cost. You want to sell the tickets and get the money, but if you didn't sell it, or if you sold it for less, but these people spent more money while you're in there, that's a delicate balance. You don't want to have a ticket that's not used.
For sure.
But you also don't want to just give stuff away. I mean, there's creative ways of getting people in the stands without, dropping it to a $6 ticket. The Mets, I was watching the Mets games last week, I think it was, and they were doing a Javi Baez special $23 tickets for a weekend because they signed Javi Baez and he's number 23. But, I think a lot of the people who are selling tickets, these are brokers. They're on a number of different sites. So it has to be universal, because if there's a $15 floor on StubHub and Vivid, I can go on my other site, whatever it is, TickPick, and put it for $14. And generally speaking, you're going to buy, if the tickets are all the same, you're going to buy whatever's the cheapest. A lot of these you'll find, they're all basically the same, and they're all it's the same ticket on the same
right
different websites. So it's different. It's the problem that they have. And the secondary market isn't going away. It's actually expanding, right? There's a lot more options to buy. People will say, no fees, whatever it is. I mean, I'm a bottom line kind of guy. How much is this going to cost me to get? I don't care if the ticket's $1 and the fees are $99, or the ticket is $99 and the fees are $1. It costs me $100 to go to the game. But I feel like, from an optics point of view, you want someone who's not adding all these fees. Like, we went car shopping. It's like, if the car is the same, that's fine. But you're charging me $1,000 for a dealer fee. I'm like, well, you don't need to charge that. You can be charging less. So maybe I'd rather give it to someone else. What are people doing to optimize the ticket value? I know there's some software out there and some companies that you talked about. Let's talk about them for a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at like the big time companies out there, I mean, I'll give Eventselac. Patrick Ryan's a great friend of mine, and I worked for them for a while, so got a front row seat with them. And essentially, like, they do it right without going into extreme specifics. But I mean, obviously, they have a distribution. They have their own proprietary software where they own it, where they broadcast the inventory to every secondary market channel there is. So the hundreds of secondary sites that sell the tickets simultaneously through obviously an algorithm. So you don't have to post tickets like on each site separately, like some small time brokers still do. And essentially they create an ecosystem where they distribute the tickets. So if they have 1,000 tickets for a team, they're not going to post all the 1,000 tickets at once. They're going to post like 20 to 30 at a time. And as those sell, they'll add more tickets to the marketplace. So what that does is obviously create more demand. It doesn't flood the market, and it creates a good system where, are they going to decide to eat some tickets for some games to keep the brand integrity? Yes. Maybe ownership, like to your point, wants to have a sellout. Are they going to decrease the tickets to get more people in the stands for some games? Maybe so too. But they just kind of do it the right way, instead of just having somebody just load 300 tickets in the open marketplace and just say, sell, sell, sell. I don't care what the price is. Because what they're doing, Matt, is essentially that people that just really have no distribution plan in place, they're just kind of letting people, they're training the consumer to buy tickets last minute, right? So if they see a $6 ticket for the New York Mets, you know what? I'm not going to buy that $25 ticket 2 weeks out from the game. I'm going to wait for the day of the game and get that ticket at $6 because I see the 6,000 tickets on the marketplace, and most likely this game's going to crash. So fans are actually getting smarter too. I'm trying to educate at that too. So this is fantastic for the consumer to buy tickets, but it's terrible on the other end. But it's just really having the process in place with integrity, being on the same page with the rights holders and the teams, of really putting together a distribution plan of making sure tickets are priced right and being happy, but not being afraid to have some spoilage on tickets if you want to protect your brand integrity.
Yeah, it's really about the consumer, the fan, a lot of times paying too much for stuff. And as people keep paying and paying, then that price has gone high. I'll give you a great example of this secondary market, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I go to Dave Matthews every year, and he plays 2 shows in West Palm. The Saturday night show, 9 out of 10 sells out. So I buy extra tickets because I want to try and make a few bucks. And I kind of hate doing that, but I figure it's available for 6 months. If you haven't bought a ticket then, it's not like one of those, hey, this thing sold out in 6 seconds, I'm buying a bunch so I can resell. Not a fan of why people like that. Let that happen. But I bought a bunch of tickets. It happened not to sell out because of COVID, whatever reason is. And when I was there, I was selling them for half of what I paid, even though it was a very highly attended event. It's disappointing, but from a fan point of view, you're also being like, okay, I could have gotten in there for half, but maybe I couldn't. It's not always going to be that way. So you might get shut out of an event that you really want to go to because you didn't buy the ticket soon enough, and now it's twice as much. it's a delicate balance because I think it comes down to they're just pricing it wrong. That doesn't mean that they should have gone much higher. Maybe it could have been, instead of $6, it was $20 tickets or $26 tickets. The amphitheaters here do a terrible job. Almost all of them go on Groupon, but why not just sell it for the $20 that Groupon is selling it? And they do that. Live Nation did a $20 all-in fee, and so once that's out there, why am I going to buy a ticket for more when I'm just going to go to that event and say, hey, people bought it for 20. I'm going to be able to buy it. Someone's going to need to unload it for 20. A couple of good questions in the audience. Frank wanted to know about fans making an offer. I think there was. Is there a site out there that's either coming or is there about fans?
eBay was like that. I mean, obviously, as they are for everything, but with tickets back in the day, I haven't seen any ticketing marketplaces have an offer currently besides what eBay used to do. Is it possible? Yes, but there currently isn't anyone out there that offers pick your price for a ticket that I'm aware of, at least on the secondary side. In my opinion, I don't think it's a good strategy. I think in that way, I mean, the open market should determine it, the event promoter and so forth. And like you just said with Groupon and all the other discount sites, like that's just like devaluing your product. I mean, if you have to do it, if you're in an emergency situation, I get it. But if you set the precedence that you're going to have Groupon offers, you're going to have BOGO offers, buy one, get one, you're just like destroying your brand integrity and waiting and having people wait to buy those tickets in a nutshell. And you brought up a good point with Dave Matthews. I'm a big DMB fan myself. That's just a perfect example where the amphitheater in West Palm Beach obviously undercut themselves and they didn't do a very good job and the tickets crashed. I mean, a guy like Dave Matthews Band should not be sold for $10 or $15 day of the event. He's a hot commodity. The baby boomer generation loves him. The older millennial generation loves him, me growing up to them. It's just like a terrible distribution. I mean, I would be losing sleep at night if I was Dave Matthews' promoter right now, just hearing that from that. He's an amazing artist. He's one of the most popular guys in the music landscape right now. And he's got cheap tickets on the marketplace because he's not doing his ticket distribution correctly.
Well, if it was bought, so it was bought by me from the venue at full price and sold for less. Still a full price bought ticket.
Right.
I mean, do they care how much it was resold for? If it's all on there, I didn't look at StubHub and all of that. I probably should have, but I didn't look at that. So it was just me standing there selling a ticket for $40 instead of $80.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point with the math and optics. Like, yeah, they sold the full price ticket, and obviously, unfortunately, you lost money on that as a broker. But essentially, these venues could make money twice by selling tickets if they partner with an Event Select, they partner with a DTI management and creating a revenue share. It would be like, look, if Dave Matthews in West Palm Beach, the amphitheater show, Event Select bought $50,000 worth of tickets and they made $100,000, Event Select would most likely give $25,000 back to the amphitheater, that money they never would have seen, and basically have the data of all the pricing of what's going on in the secondary. So it's absolutely worth having a partnership with a consolidator such as Event Select or such as DTI Management or somebody that knows what they're doing, because the rights holders can make additional money off the revenue stream deals and so forth. And also, most importantly, have the data to price their shows for future shows, future Dave Matthews, future concerts, or whatever else is going on in that particular venue to know what they're doing. So it's so important. We're in 2021. We have all the technologies in place, the artificial intelligence and the data that a lot of rights holders do not capture off the secondary market.
But that's a venue making additional money off the fan. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't sit, from a fan point of view, that doesn't sit well with me, knowing that I'm going to pay more so they can get more, selling out, for whatever reason it is, I set this price here.
Right.
Set it a little bit higher. I don't know. I'm sure there's another way. Frank wants to know if it's brand integrity or it's about making the event available to all.
My opinion is it's brand integrity. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the rights holder perspective. Like I said, for the fan, yes, it's fantastic to have $6 tickets. It's fantastic when you can have a lot of availability and so forth. And it sucks for the fan when the event surges, and sometimes you pay more money for a last minute ticket, which I think how it should be. But essentially, in a nutshell, it's all about brand integrity to me. For the fan perspective, I definitely understand your argument. I love to be able to be in New York City and pay $6 for a New York Mets ticket. Trust me, I'm looking for all the deals that I can myself as a consumer for sure.
But they're not great seats for $6. I mean, they could be $12 or $20. They're still probably less than a seat.
Yeah, you're sitting up in the upper level. I mean, you'll see a lot of lower level seats for the Mets too that were like $15 over the weekend for the Dodgers. That was probably priced at like $100 on the primary. I showed on my hot take last Wednesday. I showed the from the premium seat point of view and from the nosebleeds point of view. So literally, if you had a premium seat for the Mets this past Friday, you would pay $460 for a premium all-you-can-eat seat. On StubHub, that same seat was available for $100, like behind home plate all-you-can-eat. So check out my Wednesday hot take on that, where I show you the comparison. So it's just all about, for the consumer, yes, I'm actually doing a favor for the consumers because I'm telling them how to buy less expensive tickets if you listen to Scott's takes on my vlogs. But for the rights holders, it's killing their brand integrity. But to your point, if you guys want to know how to buy a ticket and like see the different data, listen to my hot takes on Scott's takes, because I'm teaching the consumers of how to buy cheap tickets.
How much are these teams, leaving on the table? Is there a number that people are associating with that?
Yeah. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, one of my famous hot takes from the Tennessee Super Regional Baseball region actually was my biggest hot take. It was 2 months ago. Essentially what happened with Tennessee was they had their first super regional like in 20 years. And for some reason, like the rights holders and the NCAA, like priced the tickets for the super regionals extremely low. So a person that had Tennessee season tickets hit the jackpot because they only paid like $20 per seat. On the secondary, those were going for $400 or $500 per ticket. And essentially what I didn't like what Tennessee did, and I'm actually was standing up for the fan at that point, is that they did like an on sale for their final like 100 tickets that they said were available. And right when you called it 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., whenever the on sale said that the event was sold out. So you're giving false hope, false advertising for your fan base when you call right away and you had no tickets available. So I was standing a lot up for the consumer for that hot take, but essentially Tennessee probably lost like $400,000 or $500,000 pricing those tickets at 20 when they were going for $400 or $500 that entire weekend on StubHub. So that cost them a lot of money, and it happens all the times where teams, venues, artists price their tickets too low and they leave a lot of money on the table.
What about when they don't sell? I mean, they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost the money, or they've, if they don't sell and they priced it much higher, does it all balance out? I don't know. I think I agree with you that, pricing from a team point of view has to be strategic. I know, our friend Dave Wakeman talks about strategy and discounts. I think there's a place for discounts, but I think it's also it has to be strategic. It can't just be, hey, we priced this wrong, we're doing a market correction, and have the people who bought. There's a lot of cases where people bought something and now you see it discounted. If you want it at the time, if you don't want to take the chance of not being able to get there, I mean, this is all involved in the buyer's decision. We do that all the time. We're like, hey, should I spend this? Should I spend this? Should I spend this? And I'm like, oh man, I should have bought it when I was wanting to buy it. Now it's sold out.
Right.
And it's 25, 30, 40, whatever. It might be unaffordable. Brent talks about that's a whole nother show, the cost of going to events.
Right.
When you're bringing a family, not $9 beers and $6, $5 bottle of waters.
Right. Expensive.
That's a whole nother conversation. But it's still, I don't know that I've never been priced out of going to an event necessarily. I don't know if there's something I really wanted to go to and I was like, this is ridiculous. Some of these tours, maybe when you start to get to 1,000. I mean, I don't know that I didn't have to pay $1,500 to go see the Field of Dream games. I don't know that I would have paid $15. I mean, I would have paid $3, whatever the face value was. But there's a reason why some people like to watch a game instead of go to it. It's Super
Right.
Bowl is a good example, and some of these other ones, you're like, I'm not going to spend $5,000 to go see it, but it sells out, and there's enough people want to pay it.
Right.
Let's talk about Scott's Takes. How did that come to be? What made you want to do it, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, great question. So, my whole life, and I spent most of my time in the corporate world, so I really wasn't able to like go out on social media and really like stress my opinions for obvious reasons. So, I've been really thinking about this like for many years of like where I can go out, I can be myself, I can be authentic, and I can be a straight shooter and like not be afraid to like challenge somebody. So, with COVID-19 that happened, obviously in the March of 2020, it affected live entertainment. I was with DTI Management in Arlington, Virginia, and unfortunately, when COVID hit, it was the ultimate crash. It took a multi-million-dollar business to zero, like literally overnight. And I got laid off from DTI as they laid off like 80% of the company when COVID hit. And really after that, I really had the entrepreneur mindset of like just doing something on my own, controlling my own destiny. So really spent most of the pandemic, most of 2020, like thinking of creative ways, getting more active on Twitter and social media and so forth. And I was hanging around DC for most of the pandemic, and I just kind of like got sick of it. I was like alone. I really wasn't spending time with anybody. I was eating terribly, and so forth, and decided to really come back home to Northeast Ohio this past March and really get on a diet plan because I was way overweight. I probably gained like 10, 15 pounds over COVID, eating terribly. And
join the club.
Join the club, exactly. So I made a pledge with a friend, one of my good friends, Andrew Galli, from high school. He's like, why don't you come home? Let's go on a diet. Let's work out and lose some weight. So on a cold March, Northeast Ohio day, I walked for about 2 miles. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like this. Why don't I just do this every single day and maybe start a podcast on my journey of keeping it lean and clean in my keto diet? So I literally, to that day on, it was just kind of like a eye-opening moment. I decided I'm going to walk 20,000 steps per day, average. That's 10 miles per day if you do the math, and just like get fit, get clean, and start Scott's Takes and talk about my experience with it and sports biz, my bread and butter. So I launched in mid-May, not knowing what the hell I was doing, not even know how to hold a camera right. If you look at vlog 1, it was an absolute joke, and decided to like take it to the next level of hiring a producer, one of my best friends from college, Mike Fish, to like actually make the stream look presentable with graphics and so forth. And since then, we're like at the 90-day mark. We've been going full stream ahead, talking about sports biz, talking about my keto diet experience of keeping it lean and clean, a healthy lifestyle, and really just like having these various hot takes on calling out rights holders if I disagree with them on a particular issue, like the Mets, like the Tennessee debacle, like the Brooklyn Nets, like the 5 companies that I believe crash ticketing ecosystems through the outsourcing methodology. So I'm probably like not the most popular or liked person in the sports biz industry, but I respect that. I'm happy to give them the stage, and I'm happy to really make these YouTube videos entertaining and provide 7 days of content really based on 2 verticals of my Keep It Lean and Clean journey and talking about the sports biz. So I've enjoyed it tremendously. There's definitely been ups and downs. There's been times where I think I'm going to become a YouTube celebrity overnight. That hasn't happened yet, but I have a long way to go. But I kind of have that even keel attitude that I'm going to just continue to be persistent, relentless, and diligent of producing content day in and day out.
Yeah. So a few things. I didn't know that Keep It Lean and Clean came before Scott's Take. So that's where it started. How did you get Keep It Lean and Clean? Was that out there already? Is it something you thought of?
Great question. And so I was actually watching Mighty Ducks. I grew up watching the Mighty Ducks movies, and they had a series on this spring. It was kind of like a kid's show, but me and my friend got really into it because I enjoyed the Mighty Ducks movies growing up. So literally like on like one of their last like episodes of the season, like Gordon Bombay's wife said, like, we got to keep it lean and clean for the championship. I'm like, that just like stuck to me. I'm like, I'm stealing that hashtag. So I might get sued from Disney if they have it trademarked. I don't think they do because I looked at the trademark, but that's where I got Keep It Lean and Clean from. Gordon Bombay's like that coach's wife in that series. She said, and I just said, that's going to be my hashtag of Scott's Takes and my model of losing weight, keeping it lean and clean and so forth. So I just went full tilt from that. I appreciate Gordon Bombay's girlfriend's thing on the show that pronounced it. So that's where I got keep it lean and clean.
Yeah, I haven't seen the series yet, but I did love the movies. Frank puts La Spada. So Frank, he's always telling me to keep it lean and clean. When I'm on vacation, I like to splurge.
Yeah,
I think you might have seen some of my posts.
I have.
It's a tough thing to do. Talk about the keto and what you really had to do to change your diet, and it is a lifestyle because I'm not saying you have to keep it the rest of your life, but it's hard to go back when you're so focused on this is what I'm eating to change that. So how did it affect you when you first started, and what kind of advice would you give to people who are trying to keep it lean and clean?
For sure. Great question. And the first 2 weeks of any diet is the toughest part, right? Because you're craving the foods that you want to eat, the sugar, the sweets, the pizza, etc. And I was too, because I love sweets, I love sugar, I love pizza, I love pasta, and that's totally against keto. So it's really just kind of fighting through it and doing it with a friend. So I had a friend that I did it with, and we were able to challenge each other. So if I saw him get a slice of pizza, I'd be like, what are you doing, man? I would call Andrew Gottlieb out, and he would call me out if I wasn't willing to go on a morning walk. So literally we had a consistent trend where we would walk at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, do about 10,000 steps, 5 miles, and then basically do it 2 days. In the afternoon, we do another 10,000 steps to average at 20,000 steps a day. So I definitely recommend that you do it with a spouse, do it with a friend, do it with a significant other, because that you can motivate, you can push each other to the tilt. Other than that, I mean, as I got 2 weeks in and I kind of got the keto flu out of the way. Keto is a very tough diet because you really can't eat many carbs. You gotta limit your carbs galore. But if you love meat like I am, it's a perfect diet for you because you can eat chicken, you can eat steak, you can eat fish, but you obviously got to have no carbs, and you got to cut out the rice, you got to cut out the pasta, you got to cut out the pizza. So I just did it. I'm you know what? I'm not going to stop this. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to make my hashtag keep it lean and clean to hold myself accountable, to hold myself on brand. So part of the reason why I do Scott's Takes is my diet journey, and motivates me that I can't slip off the wagon. And it was 4 months of great. I just kept at it, boom, 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 lost 40 pounds. Now I'm on phase 2 of toning up. So really my objective is tone up, gain some weight. I have a personal trainer 3 times a week that I'm seeing at the local Lifetime Fitness to really tone up, keep weight, and really just kind of transitioning off keto. So my stomach is still not used to carbs because I'm just getting off of the keto diet, but trying to put on some muscle weight so I get in the best shape of my life.
What I want to answer this question from Peter Perez, kind of going back to the pricing, and we'll get to you in a minute, Peter. The keto diet. What did you have to give up? What were you eating the most or drinking the most that you had to give up?
So pasta is my favorite food. I had to totally give up pasta, which was the toughest part. So obviously no noodles. I had to give up rice. Rice is one of my favorite foods. It's really just high carb foods that you can't eat. So you have to give up the no sugar either. So it's really just kind of a meat vegetable diet where you cannot eat bad sweets, bad foods, etc. And it was extremely tough. But once you get in the rhythm and you have somebody push you and you have goals for yourself, you got to set benchmark goals. So my goal was by June 1, I was at 200 pounds. I had to be by 180. I had to lose my first 20 pounds in 2 months. I did that by May 28th. I was 180 pounds. And then I made my second goal. I want to be at 160 by the end of July. And I actually killed that. It was July 20th. So really, essentially, it's just giving up the carbs, staying below 2,000 calories per day also. And a couple days a week, doing an intermittent fast. So after you're done with dinner, you cannot eat till lunch the next day. So you have dinner at 7 p.m. Do not eat until 12 noon the next day. Do that 3 days a week. And you will lose a lot of weight quickly. And you won't be as hungry either because your body's kind of training you in the ketosis mode of not having to take those extra calories that you tend to get more hungry when you eat more carbs.
Is that eat or drink fasting?
No, you can drink water. They definitely encourage you to drink water, but they encourage you 3 days a week to do an intermittent fast, not to eat from after dinner until lunch the next day.
Hmm.
See immediate
What's
result.
your go-to meal for keto if you're out at a restaurant?
So my go-to meal that I literally ate for like 4 months straight was chicken breast and asparagus and green beans. Just like really high quality protein, obviously gets the vegetables intake. Zucchini noodles too, the substitution for pasta is a great choice also. You can obviously put some marinara sauce on that, add some meat sauce. Great alternative for pasta, as a pasta connoisseur that I am. So I really ate a lot of chicken, a lot of steak, a lot of salmon. I became to really become like a fish connoisseur too, because I enjoy fish. It's very good for the keto diet and very good healthy protein for you throughout the process. So if you're a meat lover, keto is not really a bad thing. You just got to cut out the other garbage.
Yeah, I definitely eat too much carbs, but mostly when I'm on vacation. I'm pretty good when I'm home. It's yeah, he says, Frankie says Matt's all in. When I'm on vacation, it's just hard to go to the restaurant and not order what you want to eat instead of ordering what you should. But keep it lean and clean. That's a hashtag. Follow it if you need more keto inspiration or keto advice. Reach out to Scott. Follow the hot takes. Follow the hashtag. He'll be happy to get you more information. Let's get back to Peter. This question. Thanks for joining us, Peter. Hybrid events are growing at a rapid pace. How do you see pricing? Are they going to grow or remain free since the add-on are establishing a marketing foothold? So it's a great, very good question by Peter. I think it's to be determined. I mean, are you going to be able to sell a virtual experience for $20? I guess it depends what, right? If your concert's not coming to my area, I might want to pay $20 to see that. Sure. Merchandise too is going to be a big factor. I think we're still, nobody knows. That's what I think. They don't know. I think that hybrid will stay, but I just don't think they know. And I don't know that anyone's doing it so great anyway. They haven't perfected it yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the COVID Delta variant, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Obviously, cases have skyrocketed, unfortunately, this summer. And obviously with the virtual experience, I mean, I think that, obviously sites like Streamer that we're streaming on now and Zoom have like knocked it out of the park of having everything go virtual, charge for streams with music. But I think in a nutshell, people want to see an event live. So when they were experimenting like last year with like the pay to see Dave Matthews live or pay to see another artist live, I mean, I just don't think it's that of a cost value for the consumer to like streamline events. But I mean, really, I think live events are bread and butter, and it's a scary situation we are in with this country with the COVID cases skyrocketing. Hopefully this will be behind us and hopefully we'll get over it soon. But I don't see like consumers being excited about buying like a live stream of a concert or a sporting event to begin with. But then again, I think the second part of that question is about the add-ons, the experiences, and like companies like Experience, who actually went under during COVID, tried those type of things, tried seat upgrades, tried to sell merchandise, and teams will continue to evolve to see where supply and demand is to sell the merchandise, to sell the an experience, and so forth. But that's obviously on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, there had, in the course of 18 months, there's, I count on my hands the number of live stream things that I would really pay for. I don't think they've done that great. A lot of them are recorded. They're lip syncing. They were previously recorded, not even a live show, not even anything new. The rabid fans are always going to buy content. It doesn't matter. So I think we're going beyond that. I don't know, whatever, 1%, 3% of people are going to buy everything no matter what. But and is it just is it a COVID thing? Is it hey, this is the only way I'm going to have access to it. I'm going to want to have access to it. Now we have to try and make it. We have to try and make it better. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's TBD, right? Nobody knows, and there's a lot of things nobody knows because we're still in the midst of this. And even pricing wise, it's like are people not buying it because it's too expensive, or they're not buying it because they're not comfortable going in? I don't think anyone has these answers.
No,
we get out of that, and and that could be a while. It could be another year or so till people really feel comfortable going to an event, depending on where they're sitting and how crowded it is. Right, a highly attended event, different than like we're going to tomorrow Wednesday. I'm going to see Alanis Morissette.
Nice.
At the I Think Financial. is the West Palm Amphitheater, and I'll sit in the seat in the lawn, and it's not going to be crowded. I could go and be 30 feet away from everyone if I want to be, and wear a mask. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Well, let's talk about your Scott's hot take this morning. It was real brief, but you talked about the ALSD. I always say that wrong. ALSD, and talking about being on a panel. And I posted the other day about trying to get people to vote to get me on a panel. I'd love to be on a panel, and I want to be on a panel. I don't want to necessarily do like a session. I'm happy to do a session. I think I have content for a session. But what I like about the panel is to be able to answer questions in a way that hasn't been answered before, because the people on that panel are beholden to the people who are running the events, and they don't want to either offend them or offend the people in the audience. But the downside of that is we don't get the truth, or we don't get information, the other side of it. And it's not only just that it's not the truth. I'll talk about this when I write when I write a Field of Dreams game article, or even when I talk about doing commemorative tickets. It's not that people aren't doing something. It's that they're doing it wrong, and they're getting it rewarded for bad behavior. Or people are just saying, hey, this is how it is, so that's as good as it can get, when that's not the truth. And they're happy to get it because it's better than nothing. So I would love to get on panels to kind of challenge these people to do better. And it's going to help the fan experience. It's also going to increase your revenue, and it's going to add value for your brand partners and sponsors. But these are the types of panels and discussions that I think we need to have, where we can disagree on things. Yeah. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if you're right. It's a different point of view that might help, because one of the things I do in my session is, I talk a lot about immeasurable data, and I have a cartoon where it's got the half is glass full, the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. You're both right. So it's it's a difference of opinion, but I find that the panels are the same old. We go to and I don't care, ticketing, it could be events. It's no different than the anti-money laundering ones that I used to go to. They're all the same. It's like your college textbook saying it's a new edition, and they change 3 words to it.
No, you bring up a fantastic point there. And that's exactly what I was talking about in my hot take this morning. Just like imagine a world where if I'm like at ALSD or the Ticket Summit or like MIT Sloan, and I have like me and Stephen Cohn, I'm asking Stephen Cohn these very tough questions in front of thousands of people at the conference. And currently in the landscape of these sports biz conferences, everything is just rosy. Everything's doing perfectly. We're just sharing best practices, and people aren't talking about what people are doing badly. So that's like really what Scott's Takes is all about too, is bringing up the worst practices in the industry. And I would love to go live and love to be a moderator, or love to be on a panel and stress my opinion of like, why are you doing things this way? It gives them the opportunity to defend themselves on why they're doing that particular thing that certain way. But in a nutshell, I think it would be very interesting if people like myself and you would go on a panel and not make it all rosy and all like good and hype up their egos and so forth, and ask them tough questions of like, what's going on? Why are you doing things this way? And let them share why they're doing it. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong, but I think in a world of sports biz conferences, or like in a world of like doing podcasts, to like really challenge people with the tough questions will really help out the sports biz industry and other industries tremendously.
Yeah, I think, the average sports team, organization, league, they have the dollars down. Right? So if they're doing something, there's a reason for it. We're paying a player $300 million. We're sponsoring, the brands too. They know they're going to get it back. Major League Baseball with the game, they're going to do it again because they know it's going to make money. Right. And maybe they don't want to share it. I don't know. I can't imagine you get Steve Cohen to join you. And I don't even know if have you gotten anyone to reply to your stuff to have a conversation?
Yeah. So far, as I say, man, I'm batting 1,000. No one as to date has challenged me on any of the hot takes that I mentioned, besides obviously some fans who disagree, but no one who I challenged directly. And I've offered them, everyone an invitation has challenged me. So,
well, he might not have seen it. I mean, in all fairness, Steve Cohen might. I heard, so real quick, when I was at the Yankee game, I wrote an article about it, how they wouldn't sell me a ticket at the box office, and they told me to go out to ask a stranger to use a phone. But someone told me the story of Steve Cohen. When they found that out, he actually walked the fan into the game.
Really?
So I think he's a real. I think he's a fans owner. I think he's doing good. Yeah, I think he's doing good stuff. I don't even think he's the person to talk to there. He doesn't know whether or not they're doing that, right? I mean, I could.
Well, he's to his credit, to Steve Cohen's credit, he's responded to some season ticket holders. Chris the Teacher on Twitter actually brought this up, is how the story came about, and I've actually talked to him. I might have him on a podcast too. Steve Cohen responded directly to him about the ticket situation there. He didn't really give it much of an explanation, but he did respond and say he was looking into it. Obviously, when a high-level personality like me comes on, he's going to mute me. John Agramonte, actually, the Brooklyn Nets, I actually tweeted at him, and he actually responded to me. He thought I was a fan, so he took a call with me. Then he realized I wasn't a fan and what I was trying to do, and he kind of just blew me off. I can see it.
It's tough. They're good. I mean, I have my whole thing with Gary Vee, where I want to have a conversation with you to talk about this stuff, because every single thing this guy says, everyone just eats it up. And he's a brilliant man, brilliant businessman. But anytime you disagree with him, or he marks it as hate, and don't ignore the haters. I'm not hating on you. I'm trying to understand why you're saying what you're saying, and trying to give you a different point of view to say, look, I think you're saying one thing and doing another. It's just hard. Most people don't want to do that. And I'm happy if I misspeak. I'm happy to have a conversation. If you don't agree with something I say, I've been wrong many, many times. I'll be wrong again. It's good conversation that need to be had. But give me some Twitter. Who are some good Twitter followers that you enjoy their content?
I love David Portnoy. I mean, obviously with Barstool, I think out of any guy in this, in the landscape of the sports biz and the media landscape, the guy's on absolute fire. And yes, he's a funny personality on Barstool, but as a business person, I look at the business scope of Dave Portnoy and what he's doing with Barstool Sports across all sectors, across the Barstool sports books, of having gambling, across the Stoolie, across really changing the landscape to broadcast like the Arizona Bowl, calling it the Barstool Bowl, and really having amazing conversations to really create the millennials to watch games like the Arizona Bowl, partner with a professional sports league. Supposedly they're in early talks with Major League Baseball, partnering up with them to broadcast games. He's ahead of the curve. He's my favorite person to follow on Twitter, not just as a personality. He's funny.
He's a great follow. He has some bad takes too.
He does. I don't agree with everything he does. He has some bad takes, and he is a little out there. He's definitely X-rated, but when he talks about business, the guy's an absolute genius, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think that Barstool Sports is on fire. As you mentioned, Gary Vee, I mean, I'm a big fan of him. He's motivational. I think he's somewhat full of shit in various ways. Like he said, he doesn't get back in touch with people. He says it's my way or the highway. I'm all about, too, Matt, of having people call me out. I want people to engage and call me out and disagree with me. I want more engagement, and I want to see where I'm wrong. I'm not the type of person where it's my way or the highway. I might sound like that on Scott's Takes, but I'm not. But definitely Dave Portnoy. I definitely appreciate all his takes, and really just the different personalities. I mean, Pop Brothers put out great content. I actually try to ruffle feathers with them about Bitcoin and so forth. I'm not afraid to ruffle feathers. I definitely want to get, but I think they all do great content on the various topics of, one does sports biz, one does Bitcoin, one does just miscellaneous articles. I'm all about just following people that put out good content. Darren Ravel too. I've been a lifelong fan of his the last decade. The guy puts out
he gets killed.
He's killed from Clay Travis. Yeah,
he could put anything, and he gets
no
matter what he writes, he gets killed. He's kind of, he's put that on himself a little bit, but still some of it's look, the guy does pretty good work.
Yes.
He's a little, we can do that. I hope to have Darren on. He's part of the Same Here team. Awesome. I hope to have Darren on the podcast, on the show here. Give me a couple hot takes, non-ticketing. We got football coming up, college and pro. You got the end of baseball. Give us a couple hot takes that we can chew on for about a minute before we get out of here.
Well, another big story I talked about non-ticketing lately was Evander Kane's gambling scandal of how he potentially or allegedly bet on the San Jose Sharks. That's actually one of my highest YouTube views to date, almost well over 1,000 plus views on his wife, wife throwing him under the bus to saying that he bet on San Jose Sharks games, blew his life savings with strippers, prostitutes, and etc. That's a big story. That's going to continue to evolve in that landscape. It's definitely a black eye to the National Hockey League. If it comes out where they had proof where he actually bet on San Jose Sharks games, it'll definitely be the biggest story since Pete Rose bet on baseball. So
it's a small market, and it's the NHL, which is
right.
The lesser of all the major leagues. It's not as big a story today. We'll see what happens with that.
Right. And obviously coming up with NFL, and obviously we're going to talk more too on the multimedia, the sponsorship effect from COVID-19. We're going to bring some really multimedia experts into the mix, since it's really not my work of expertise. And really continue to promote on current events. So not like the 40 plus videos I have on Scott's Takes on YouTube are not all 100% ticketing. It's obviously diet related. It's obviously current events. I did one a couple weeks ago on the Delta variant, how that's going to affect stuff going on, the Barstool Sports Bowl. So anything sports biz related, not always ticketing is my bread and butter, and I'll talk most about that, but you'll definitely see on my Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos, it's not all going to be ticketing. It's not all going to be sports biz. It's really going to be about what is the biggest news, the biggest takes, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the sports business landscape, and just like go from there. We're kind of making it like an all-encompassed full menu show.
Right. You do a great job. The production is great. It's funny. It's annoying. It's shtick. It's all of that. That's what you want. That's what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's short. So you can really get an idea, and then interaction is really the best part of that, is to have a conversation based on that, not just a hit and run piece where you're like, hey, I'm going to say what I want, and then not have any type of interaction. Peter wants to know about NFL getting to metaverse NFT. Look, you need to offer value for NFT. Otherwise, it's just they already have NFTs, or it's going to be based on speculation and investment, like a stock and investing. I don't know. I don't own any of it. It doesn't mean people aren't making money with it, but I would, as Gary Vee says, do your research. Not for his just go ahead and buy, VFriends and $10,000 to start. But there's a lot of risk involved. So don't risk anything that you can't afford to lose. And so I think that's my take on NFTs. And
yeah, the NFT game, and your boy Gary Vee's all over that game right now. He definitely considers the next hot thing. There's definitely a lot of confusing parts of it, of how it all works and complexes. I think a lot of people have made a lot of money back in the early spring and May and June. A lot of people lately I've heard have lost a lot of money on it. So do your research, know what to do, take your calculated risk on it. It is definitely wild what's going on with the NFTs. But I think with NFTs and tickets, people talked about it's going to congregate with tickets. I just think it's way too complicated. I don't see it ever working in the ticket space. I could be wrong, but it's just way too complex to tie it in with a ticket and be able to sell that ticket. You're obviously in the ticket commemorative business. You might have a take on that. Maybe I'll ask you on my.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we could talk about that. I don't know the value of it. Is a barcoded digital ticket is a one-on-one of one. So, and you get into the game, and then when the game's over, now what?
Exactly. The game's over. So it just doesn't make sense unless some genius can figure that out. But
we're going to give you two questions. The first one's going to kind of lead into the second one to get you out of here on.
Yeah.
If you could have anyone on your show for Scott's Takes, and you could literally pick anyone, who are you taking?
Dave Portnoy, no doubt.
Dave Portnoy. Okay. And it might make the second question very easy.
Yeah.
We let everyone out of the Wolff Den with one final question. You could pick one person to spend a day with, 24 hours, do whatever you guys want to do. It could be anyone in the world. They have to be living, and you can't be related to them. Who is it, and what are you doing? Is it Dave Portnoy also to spend a day with and also be on the show?
Yes. I mean, just to spend a day with him, just to have like drinks with him at a bar, I would definitely not keep it lean and clean that day. I just want to have like drinks, beer, and
pizza with him, right?
What's that?
You got to eat pizza with him, right?
I would eat pizza too. I would do my dream would be to do a pizza review with him. So I would definitely get off the keep it lean and clean diet for a day, do a pizza review, talk business, talk shop. If I could spend a whole day with anybody, it would be Dave Portnoy, and it would have to encompass definitely eating pizza, doing pizza reviews, and just talking about business.
You do your Scott's takes during the 24 hours.
For sure.
I love what he's doing. I'd love to do a review like of some kind of food traveling around. I probably could do it. I don't know if I can get as high. I also loved his unboxing. I'd love to get to the point
that was awesome.
I can do unboxing.
Yeah.
People just send me stuff.
And free stuff.
Wear it. It'd be like some of the stuff I saw. There was one where someone baked him like cookies, and he's like, I don't know should I be eating this? And then he eats it, and he's like,
man,
I shouldn't have eaten it.
You know, that was the most entertaining. That was like during the start of COVID too. So March and April, I would look forward to those streams every single night for like 60 days straight. That was so entertaining to watch that unboxing he did. He should bring that back. That was entertaining.
Yeah, I'd love to spend some time with Dave, or even have him on the Wolff Den. But it's on the list. We're going to see what we can do. As we talked earlier, you might have a better chance of making it happen than I do, but we'll see what happens. Either way, it's all good. Really appreciate the dialogue here. Enjoy what you're doing with Scott's Take, and look forward to them. And the Keep It Lean and Clean. I don't know that I'll be able to keep it lean and clean, but I'll be able to I got to keep it leaner and cleaner.
You do.
We'll do that instead of all lean and clean. Brent wants to go fishing with George W. He knows that he has to be a guest on the Wolff Den to actually be included, and he's invited anytime. He's a very talented writer, and he's a good fisherman, and he knows a lot about gator sports, and real estate too.
Nice.
Hairy and scary.
Yeah, hairy and scary. Oh boy.
Yeah. Normally I wouldn't put this up there, but we're in overtime. Nobody's watching anyway. All right, have a great week. Look forward to additional content and coming on Scott's Takes.
Yep.
Everyone tune in tomorrow. We got another episode of the Wolff Den. Have a great day.
Thanks, Matt.